Okay, this is your EOCT practice problems. Specifically, these are the problems the state said most kids had trouble with. Okay, and so we're going to try to get through these and see if we can give you a better idea of what it is that you're supposed to know and be able to do. Okay, this one is talking about Juan and Patty deciding who could read the most books in a month. And they begin to keep track after Patty's already read 5 books that month. Well, see, that makes it difficult to do because that means that 0 does not necessarily represent which day it is because she wouldn't have read 5 books instantaneously at the second that the month is beginning, okay, like at midnight on the 1st, which means that we're not quite sure where she started. You could figure it out. In fact, you could figure it out quite easily because if you look at this, the first thing you have to figure out is the rate, okay? Here, the rate every day, and you can see the blue line is a little bit long. That little blue hash mark um, that I'm about to make again, right here, that represents one day, okay? And every one day she goes up half a block. Now, the EOCTs and your entire Unit 1 was devoted to this, with making you pay attention to units. And so um, you're going to have to figure out what the units mean. Okay, looking at this, it takes 2 units to equal 5. Okay, which means that little mark is halfway between 0 and 5. So 5 divided by 2, that's going to go twice. 2 times 2 is not 2, it's 4. 1, you're going to have to drop a decimal, add a decimal, and drop a 0. 2 into 10 is 5. So this represents right here on the side 2.5. All right, but keep in mind what we said. It doesn't go up, so this is 2.5. All right, every day it doesn't go up a whole block, so it doesn't go up all of 2.5. It goes up half of 2.5. So you've got to divide that into 2 also, and so that would be 2 into 5 is, don't forget your decimal point, 2, 4, 1, drop your 0 because you're going to have to add a new one. 2 into 10 is 5. So every day, here's her rate, and this is the important thing. Patty reads 1.25 books each day. Okay, but so does Juan. He's able to read that. He just didn't start where she did. In fact, let's look at the Juan story here because Juan, if you think about it, 0, well, let me do this. If you think about what he's able to do, these are his days. This is the day number, and this is the books read. So when he finally gets motivated to read, okay, you're going to have a day 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, by the way, he did no reading. No reading at all on day 0. Obviously, that's where it started. At 1, he had read none. At the end of 2 days, he'd read no books. At the end of 3 days, and at the end of 4 days, he had read no books. Oh, Juan, you've waited till the last minute here. But you can figure out 11, 12. On the 12th day, you can still figure out where he was because he reads at the same rate, at that 1.25. So all you've got to do is at the end of 5 days, he had read 1.25. Okay, keep adding 1.25. At the end of 6 days, he had read 2.5 books. He had read 3.75, so I'm just doing the addition. You'll have a calculator, so you won't have to do all of this. And I'm going out 2 decimal places, even though like at day 8, 5.00 means 5. This would be 6.25. This would be 7.5. This would be at 11 days, he would have add another 1.25, so that's 8.75. And at day 12, add another 1.25, that would be 8, 9, 10. Okay, so the question is, how many books will he have read by day 12? And the answer is 10. Okay, there you go. So basically all you needed from this graph was to figure out how many books she could read in a day and then apply that to 1 starting after day 4. okay? And then just add it up until you got to 12. And that is how you would figure out problem number 6. A little confusing, but boil it down to its smallest elements. Okay, problem number 7. This graph plots the number of wins in 2006 and 2007 for professional football teams. Um, and it wants to know which equation best matches the trend in the data. To figure out the trend in the data, it's not that easy, but again, it's not that hard. This one's kind of close, I guess. And so this is basically what I would see. These are really steep. The further these right there, it's very, very steep. Um, and in fact, the entire line, it's going to do something like this if I were guessing. In fact, if I were trying to say where this line would go, and I usually try to make it just a little bit thicker, I may even like kind of move it a little bit. You can use your finger. Let me delete this and I'll redraw it. You can use your finger to try to kind of estimate what a thick line might do. But to me, I think that it appears to kind of have about that trajectory right there. Okay? And that's just my opinion. Now, it doesn't cross the y-axis right there, which means it's going to go down below. All right? So that would be my guess about the line. Notice this has a plus 0. If it's not written as plus 0, it clearly does not cross at 0. A positive 8, it also clearly does not cross at positive 8. Okay, so the ones that you've had left are 2x minus 6 and 2x minus 12. Since those have the same slope, you don't even have to check the slope. Basically, all we've got to figure out, okay, is where does this cross. Now, this is where it gets a little bit sticky because I don't have units down below there, and it's going to make it a little bit harder to see, okay? What I would advise you to do is fold over a corner of the paper of your test booklet and make little guidelines at exactly the 2, 4, 6, 8 place where it has it on the top, and then shift them down so that you can actually count. Since I'm working on a computer, I can't do that, and so I just copy and pasted this, and I'm going to flip it around so that it's upside down, but it's negative, and I'm going to kind of move it down here. So you will be doing this, okay, with your just your tracing. You're going to have to trace. That's the only way that I know that you can do this. Let me see if I can set transparency right there. Okay. All right. So the question is, where does this cross? And looking at these little hash marks, which I think accidentally became just a little bit transparent, you can see that it does not cross at 12. It's pretty clear that 12 is too far down. And that 6 is pretty much dead on. And so the answer is going to be C, y equals 2x minus 6. Again, in these type questions where it's going to be, it's asking you to approximate the line, use your paper on your test booklet or ask for extra paper and trace their scale so that you can get it right, because it definitely matters. Okay? And don't forget, you're allowed to do like the super thick line, use your finger to estimate and see if you can figure out where that is. Okay? Moving on to question 8. Question 8 is asking, it's another correlation or another dot plot, which describes the correlation of the two variables in the scatter plot. Okay? Now let's first of all talk positive versus negative. Positive versus negative. In the direction that you read from left to right, okay, so both of them left to right, positive is when it's going up. Negative is when it's going down. And so the question, first of all, is this positive or negative? It's clearly going down. Okay, so it's negative, which means A and B can be ruled out completely. So now you're asking, is it weak or is it strong? And so it's kind of a matter of opinion sometimes, but here's the question for these purposes that you need to ask yourself, okay? If it's negative, let's say it's negative, is it predictable, okay, that as you go to the right, the dots go down? In other words, are there any that don't? Is there anything that looks pretty random? Or as you go that way, are they all pretty much going down? And if that's the case, then it's a predictable negative, which means it's a strong negative. And so the answer is D. Okay? So the fact that, I mean, a perfect negative would be they're lined up exactly in a line, but even if it's not perfect, the question is it pretty much predictable? And if it is, then you can call it strong, and that is a strong negative. Okay? Number 9. Which of these represents a system of linear equations that has more than one common coordinate? Okay? This is actually a quick and simple one. That has one common coordinate. Lines don't loop back around. That crosses only once. It wants multiple. Multiple means more than one. And so is it that one? No. Okay. B, you'll notice you've got a little line on top of another line. Okay. I shouldn't really say little line because lines technically go on forever regardless of how much you've actually drawn. But they did that so you could see. There's one on top of the other. They share every point in here. All right. And so that one is, yes, it has more than one common coordinate, but let's just go through and look at these again. That crosses in one place. Lines don't loop back around. The answer is not C. D, these are parallel. Parallels never cross, so they have no common coordinate. So it's not D, so the answer is B. Last one, number 10. Here are the points. They're on the graph of a function. Which equation represents that function? Basically, what it's wanting to know is, if you've got x and y, 0, 1, 2, 3, okay, which of those, 2 to the x, 3 to the x, 4 to the x, 5 to the x, and you can use the, if you've got one of the calculators that will give you a chart, you can use it and plug these in, but it wants to know which one gives you this, 25, okay, so you're just going to plug it in. 2 to the 0 will give you 1, okay, so I'm doing this one now. 2 to the first does not give you 5. All right, and so that's not it. 3 to the 0 gives you 1. In fact, anything to the 0 gives you 1, so you can pretty much ignore that part because that's true for all of them. And then, but 3 to the first power would not give you 5. 4 to the first power won't give you 5. The only one that will do that is 5. 5 to the x. This is what 5 to the x looks like. That has a base, a repeated multiplier of 5. So it's a pretty easy problem. It's just maybe might catch some people off guard, but the answer is D. Okay, that's all of them for 6 through 10. Continue on and to 11 through 15, and those will be on a separate video. Good luck.